One of the big stories right now is that Russia has retreated from territories within the Kharkiv and Kherson regions. Most people on Twitter and in the media are saying that this is a sign that Russia is losing, that the Ukrainians are advancing towards their victory against the Russians and towards an independent Ukraine, fully independent Ukraine, I should say. But there is an interesting opinion that I read today. There was an article that was published recently on Al Jazeera in which the Middle Eastern publication interviewed a Russian military expert by the name of Nikola Mitrokhin, who is a military expert for the University of Bremen in Germany. And he made an interesting observation. He stated that the Russian soldiers took all of their equipment with them. They didn't leave behind military vehicles and tanks, and that they took their time. The Russians, according to Nikola, did not retreat in a panic state. They didn't retreat in hours. They took their time. They took days to retreat, signifying, according to this military expert, that this was not a retreat done in a panic state, rather a strategic withdrawal. And what this military expert believes is that the Russians are simply regrouping in the Donbass region, and that they want to concentrate the fighting within that region. So, I mean, we have several scenarios here that are possible. One, the Western media and all of the talkers and influencers on Twitter who are pro-Ukraine could all be correct, and that the Russians really did retreat in a panic, and that they lost to Ukrainian soldiers, or that they were so terrified of Ukrainian soldiers because they were underarmed that they fled, and that they gave up those territories. That's a possibility. But it's also possible that Russia has done a strategic retreat, a strategic withdrawal, as a way to limit the conflict to the two regions that Russia wants the most right now, and that is, of course, Donetsk and Luhansk, and that Russia wants to make those two regions as a part of the Russian Federation. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It kind of reminds me of the second scenario kind of reminds me of something that took place back, I want to say in 1920, when the Poles under Pilsudski declared war on the Soviet Union and wanted to take Kiev away from Soviet control. And the Poles made an alliance with the Ukrainians, and they attacked the Russians in Kiev, and the Russians ran away with little to no fighting. The Poles were in a state of euphoria. They were absolutely in a state of jubilation, thinking that they had the victory and that they were going to sort of revive Polish power in Central Europe. But what they didn't realize was that at that point they had stretched themselves too thinly, and that they were deep within already, deep within Ukraine, to the point where the Russians were able to cut them off and defeat both the Poles and the Ukrainians, and the Poles retreated back to Poland. So we'll see what happens. It's a very interesting situation. Anyway, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.